Okay, so I'm going to get started here with the bottom, and this is the main base structure, and I'm just kind of taking this and training it just to give it a little bit of a natural curve. We don't want it peeling away from itself, so I'm just kind of giving it a natural curve like that. I'm just putting my hand down and grabbing and running the paper across my hand like that, and you can kind of just give it a little bit of a, maybe just wrap it around itself like that, just kind of tightly, and just let it sit there for a few seconds and then let it kind of unravel. And what we're going to do is we're going to overlay it and overlap it onto itself. There's two little notches there, and you want to basically get them right up against those notches. Okay, so we're going to put glue. I'm going to put glue on this piece here and try not to get it past that score mark area, and I'm going to flatten that out with my finger just to get it nice and thin so that it doesn't smear on us. Okay. Take this other end and get it right up there. And with this piece here, I think I'm probably going to use my little technique of going in and cleaning it up. Okay, so once it's got somewhat of a hold, put it down on your table flat and push down just to make sure that it sticks nicely. Okay. And got a little bit of glue that's smeared out there, but that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and rub that out. Okay, so just push and hold that down until it really sets. Okay, then we can go ahead and flip these little tabs over. And I'm actually going to glue the liner in place first. That's going to help with the shape. So grab the little piece that has the little bee on it, and we're going to pop that in and push it in there really nicely so that it looks like this. And then we can go ahead and actually, why don't we do this? Why don't we just leave these open real quick? I'm going to put this down on my table. I'm going to get my glue, and I'm just going to go ahead and roll it as I apply just a little single dot of glue onto each of these teeth. Now, from experience, rarely do I get them all to stick, but that's okay. We're going to do that anyway and just hope that we get the majority of them, and then the ones that we don't get, we can just go in and clean up. Okay, so the one with the little bee, we're going to stick that in. Let me push these teeth down. I'm going to just drop that right in. Don't let it fall through. Okay, and then just push these teeth all down and push from the inside. And we'll see how many of those teeth we can get to really stick. Okay, and we got a good amount, but I always expect that this is going to happen. So we're just going to go in and clean this up. Now again, this is the liner, so no one's going to see this. If it gets a little messy, that's okay. Go ahead and push these teeth down. Then we're going to flip this over again and just push in those areas there that we just put the glue down. I'm going to go ahead and push down there and try to get those teeth to really grab just like that. Okay, and then there's a couple little areas that I missed, so I'm going to go ahead and just put that back on my table and just push that down and get that to really hold and clean up any excess glue you may have on your table. Okay, and then we can just go in and clean up the rest of these that didn't stick. Just put a little glue right on those tabs. Okay, just push them over. And we'll put them back down on the table and push down. Should be able to get them all set this time around. And then we can go ahead and put the actual bottom on. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then we'll grab the bottom and we're going to put the bottom on now. And this one may require that you do a little extra touching up there at the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and put glue on the outer portion of this, maybe with just a little light amount of glue in the center because it tends to warp in that area there if you put too much glue. Okay, so I'm getting a nice ring of glue out there, and I am going to spread that out with my finger because I know that it's going to want to come shooting out, get it out to that edge there. Okay, and then take the bottom, get that nice and aligned, and just push down, work your way around, just like that. It's a smaller area, so you may actually be able to get this done perfectly in one little shot here, because it's not a large surface. And that looks pretty darn good to me. Yeah, all right. That looks pretty good. Okay, so there's our base, just a nice little cone shape there. And we can move on to the lid. Okay, so just like we did with the bottom, I'm gonna go ahead and train this, okay? And I want to overlap this. I'm gonna go ahead and put glue. Actually, I can kind of bend that a little bit so that we know where to put our glue so that we don't cross that line there, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and get that aligned right up to that little score mark. Make sure it's nice and flush at the bottom. Okay, there we go. Just hold that while it gets a chance to dry. And then I want to go ahead and train these tabs here, so I am going to push them down, but I'm going to push them right back up so I can put glue on it. And again, we're going to take the liner and put that in first so that it holds the shape nicely. And actually, we could probably just put the glue in from the inside here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little drop, one tiny little dot, excuse me, on each of these teeth. And we'll see if we can somehow get all of them to stick in one shot this time, because this isn't as tall. It's a little bit easier to work with. So just get a little dot on each of those teeth. And it's okay if you're a little over generous on some of those parts. Find the circle with the little T on it, okay, and pop it right in there. Okay, and just kind of run your finger along the outside like that to get that to stick. And then we'll kind of flip it over and see if we got all of them. Of course, it's kind of difficult to do that, so don't feel bad if you don't get them all. You can go in and clean them up afterwards. I got a bunch of them. There's a few here and there that didn't make it. That's okay. We got 6. I feel pretty good about that. Well, 7. That one just popped. Wonder if you could hear it pop on camera there. Okay, so that's quite all right. We'll just push those over, put them back on our table, and just use your finger, run it along the inside like that. Get those tabs that we missed to stick. Okay, and then we can go ahead and still have a few here that just didn't want to stick. So I'm just gonna focus my attention on those little tabs here with some extra pressure. Okay, that looks good. All right, so just like we did with the bottom, okay, I've got one that just wants after school detention here. Just does not want to cooperate. Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right, so just like we did with the bottom, I'm gonna go ahead and put a nice line of glue around the outside, probably thick enough to where you can take it and spread it out with your finger, get it out to the edge and make it thin so that when you do put that top on, that glue doesn't come smearing out. And then a very, very fine line in the center. There's gonna be a panel on top of that, so if it does sort of warp, you're saved. And then just push down, work your way around, get that pressure on there. Okay, so we also have this little strip here, okay, and even if it doesn't look totally perfect up at the top, this strip is actually going to cover that up really nicely, and it should pretty much meet up perfectly there at the end. Okay, so you want to we're going to go ahead and I'm going to do this in little sections because I feel like it may be kind of hard to do it all in one shot. So I'm going to go ahead and get my glue out here. This is kind of similar to the little coin box that we did for St. Patrick's Day. We did a bunch of these. So I'm just putting little dots in these little areas and then just a little thin line there. Okay, and I'm going to start right about here, just covering up that seam from the top of that box. And I'm just going to hold that down and just work little areas at a time here because I don't think I'm going to be able to do this all in one shot. Okay, so I'm just putting that down, as you can see. Okay, and then as you get towards the end, you may have to do more of the surface area. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just going to start putting little dots on this part here, and then I'll do 2 lines at the end. That might have been a little too much there. I'm just going to smear that. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and wrap that nice and tightly around our box lid. Make sure that you've got it nice and lined up with the top of the box there. Try to get it nice and tight. Okay, and there's a point there where we didn't have glue on it, and that's okay. Okay, so we can just put that back down on our table and continue with our dots and our lines. And I can probably close this up at this point. I think we're at that point now. Okay, nice thin little line of glue there. Nice thin little line of glue there. Let's go ahead and close this up. Make sure you wrap it nice and tight. Keep it nice and flush with the top. Okay, should pretty much meet. Might be a little bit of a gap, but that's totally okay. That probably just means that I didn't wrap it tight enough in some of the spots, but no one's really going to notice that. Okay, so there is, it's supposed to be a pill bottle, which is really cool, I think. Okay, I've got a little bit hanging off here, so I'm going to grab my, just going to grab my razor blade and get a little bit of extra glue right in that little area there, and just push and hold that down so it's nice and flush. Okay, so that looks really polished and clean, like really nice actually. Okay, so then we have this little red piece that's going to go right on top here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and apply my glue. So this red piece, get that nice and centered. That looks good. Okay, that looks great. Okay, nice and snug on your box. We got a really cool looking little pill bottle. Okay, and also have this little symbol here that we're going to, I'm going to pop dot this because that's what I've been doing with the rest of them. But I'm going to take the little wing part of this and kind of train it and curl it. Okay, because that part, kind of want to maybe just bend this out a little bit too. Okay, we're going to pop that right on to our box. So I'm going to need some small pop dots here. So I'm going to put them on my table and just rip them apart and just kind of strategically place them onto this thing. And little segments there. Just need some really small ones in some of these areas so that they don't show through. Okay, just want to kind of keep it consistent with the rest of the bundle. There we go. And then you can go ahead and I'm going to put one right here in the center. I think that's all I'll need there. And then I can actually probably take at least a quarter of a pop dot on each of these wings. Just like that. Okay, throw that on there. Just like that. And then we can go ahead and adhere that to our cute little pill bottle. Just get that nice and centered, make sure it's vertical. Okay, and just push down in all the little spots that you have the pop dots. There we go, just like that. Super cute. Okay, so all that's really left to do at this point is put together our little nurse cap and then finish that off. Okay, so as far as the nurse's hat goes, if you have a brad, you actually don't even need to glue anything if you don't want. Okay, I'm still gonna recommend that you do, just so that it doesn't come apart, but I'll show you here. Okay, so this part here, we're gonna flip up. Okay, so just kind of bend it at the score mark there. Okay, and then what's gonna happen is we're gonna take these two tabs and just kind of, actually, you know what, let's kind of train this a little bit so it doesn't crease too bad. So I'm gonna take this whole thing and just kind of train it and curve it in like that. Okay, so this part's gonna curve up. Okay, and then these two pieces are gonna go under like so until you have the little holes lined up. Okay, so just get those holes nice and lined up like that. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, and there is your little nurse cap. And I am just gonna take my brad and pop that through there and hold that in place with my brad. Okay, I'm gonna spread that open. There we go. Okay, now these two little tabs here, those are what we're gonna put the pop dots on. And when we do finally put it in place, we are gonna kind of squeeze it in a little bit so it's kind of squared off at the top. Okay, so let me just fix that real quick. There are two little pieces here for the nurse cap. There's this little strip here. I'm going to take that texture side and make sure it's up. And we do want to kind of give this like a little natural curve. Okay, and that is going to go on just like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put little dots of glue on this. I may have to go in and do a little touch up at the end here in case we don't get it all perfect. Make sure you get a little bit of glue out to the edge there. Just very gently. Okay, and make sure we have this going the right direction. Should go all the way out to the edge on both sides. And then just kind of try to keep that border there consistent. There we go. How cute is that? Okay, and then we've got our little cross here. We're gonna pop that right on the center. I am gonna grab my pick-me-up tool and just dab a little glue on this guy here. I love this project so much. It's so fun, so simple too. Okay, so here's our little cross. Let's do our best to get that centered. Peel that back. And just push that down. Make sure that it is in fact centered and upright. Here we go. Look how cute that is. That is so cute. Okay, and then we're just going to adhere that to the top of our box. And I'm just gonna grab a couple pop dots. Okay, we get our pop dots on these little tabs that are sticking out here. I'm gonna put them more on the inside so you don't see them poking out. My goodness, these are sticky. Okay, just like that. All right, so then I'm gonna take this and just kind of squeeze it together, and I'm going to center it right on my box. Might have to do this a little bit off camera here just to make sure that I get it exactly where I want it. Let me put these in. Now you don't have to pop dot this. You can actually glue it if you want. It's up to you. It might actually sit better if you glue it. I may actually take this off and then glue it down instead, just so it doesn't wobble so much, because that kind of gives it a little wobble effect. And I don't know if I like that or not. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put our little bow together, and I'm just getting my little wire or string or whatever you want to call it ready here. I'm gonna put this ribbon in here just a little bit on one side just to kind of anchor it so I can get started. And each little loop here is gonna be about 1.75 inches. So you can see here, I've got 1.75 inches on that loop. Okay, and we're gonna do 1.75 inches on this loop. And then do the same thing here. About 1 inch, actually we're gonna make this one a little bit less, but we're gonna tuck this under because we're kind of finishing up our last loop here. Okay, so let's take a look, and I'm gonna pull that in just a tad. Okay, that looks good. All right, I'm gonna grab my string here and just tie a double knot to get that to really stick. Okay, one more. That looks good. Okay, and then I can just cut off the excess here. Where are my fabric scissors? Okay, let me cut this off too. And I'm going to cut this little wire thing off. It's holding it together for me. Okay, and then I'm going to take more of my ribbon and just feed it through like that. I'm going to pop this in here. I just want to see how that's going to look and how long I want my tail. I'm just going to cut this here. Okay, I can actually take this out, and all I want to do is kind of wrap this around like this to hide that center part, and I'm just going to tie this in a single knot. Let me move this out of the way. Just tie that in a single knot, make sure that this part here in the middle stays like that, because we want to cover up that middle part. And as I mentioned in my last video, you guys may have a better way of doing this. By all means, if you have a video or something and you want to show me a more efficient way of doing this, then by all means, I am willing to learn. I'm just comfortable doing it this way, and the results are pretty good, so I'm happy. All right, we're going to tie that nice and tight. So we've got our little bow there with our tail. just like that. Okay, and then kind of dress this out a little bit and see how I like it. So far, I love it. Okay, and that's going to go here onto our box, and I kind of want the tail, let's see, probably to about there and there. And then I can go ahead and fold this in half and just cut it like that to give it a little tail, and that kind of didn't work out the way I had hoped. Just gonna clean that up a little bit. There we go. That looks good. We can go ahead. I need to make this straight. Maybe that's why it came out weird. And then I'm gonna fold it in half and just cut it like that to give it a nice little tail. Okay, and I think that looks pretty even. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Actually, I think this side's a little bit too long. I'm gonna try that one more time. And I'm just gonna fold that and just cut it. Give it a cute tail. There we go. That's cute. And I've got my hot glue gun ready to go here. Gonna put some hot glue on the back of my bow. And oh, I hate hot glue sometimes. So I hate when it runs. Just pop that right on there. Beautiful. Look how cute that is. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.